So up first, he is the co-founder and CEO at Stembolt and a member of the Solidus core team. He hates code and he loves dropping truth bombs. His talk's titled Solidus, We're Getting Better. So please welcome from Victoria, British Columbia, Clarke Brenston.
All right, now, as every Linux speaker at a conference's worst nightmare, I am turning on the second monitor. Oh, not bad so far.
Success.
Hey, look at that. Now, as every... Oh, okay, we're going to call that okay. We're going to call that, I'm sure it'll fix itself. That's how computers work, right, guys? Turn it on and off again. Okay, so, Solidus, we're getting better. When we announced this conference, somebody in Stembolt came up to me and said, Clarke, are you going to speak? I'm like, well, I guess I'll have to submit a CFP, pick a topic and things. And they said, well, you don't really have to submit a CFP, Clarke. If you want to talk, there's nobody to stop you. And I said, that's true. So what do you guys want to hear about? And somebody gave me the great advice as, what do you want people to understand most coming out of this conference? And this is what it is, Solidus, we're getting better. So, a little bit about me to start. I'm the CEO of Stembolt. I founded it 8 years ago with my partner, Sean Taylor, who's somewhere in the audience, way in the back. Couldn't even get good seating. We're up to 19 developers these days, I think. I don't keep too hard to count, but there are a bunch of the handsome-looking gentlemen and a few very attractive ladies wandering around in the Stembolt hoodies. They have been with us on average for 3 to 4 years. We really enjoy our people, and we're really proud of what they do. We've been in the Spree ecosystem since 2012. I spoke at SpreeConf 2013 about our first big store doing its first big migration, and we've seen the evolution of the project over a long time, which I think gives us a really unique perspective. 18 months ago, as many of you know, we said Spree was great to us for a whole bunch of years, but it's no longer meeting our needs, and we had to move on. So we forked Spree and we made Solidus, which is why we're all here today. You're going to talk to me a lot over the next 2 days. I'm going to be really excited about e-commerce. I'm going to be really excited about code, and that's not by choice. This is the only thing I can do with my life that is a marketable, employable skill. I have nothing else, so I care about it a lot. Last thing to know about me is I'm not exactly known for being an optimist. As Gregor sort of alluded to, I am very quick to speak my mind, and I take as pragmatic approach as possible. So remember, while I wanted to stand up here and give a rah, Solidus is great speech, you're just getting a we're getting better speech. So I thought a lot about how I wanted to present this. And in order to understand how we're getting better, we have to understand where we came from and where we're going. So I thought to myself, if I were to give this same speech 2 years ago, what would I have given? And it would have been SpreeConf 2014, about when this happened 2 years ago, and I would have given a speech called Everything is Amazing. At SpreeConf 2014, the amount of giant companies promising to adopt Spree, submit back to core was crazy. The amount of agencies at our size, the buzz of the Spree team themselves was extraordinary to be around. It had that feeling of a community that wanted to push a platform together and all work toward a common goal. We knew we had problems. 2 years ago, we'd been in Spree for 2 years. We'd done upgrades of 1.3 to 2.0, 2.0 to 2.1, 2.1 to 2.2, 2.3 to 2.4, all multiple times, and we all thought we knew where we were. We thought we knew what we were getting into, and we were behind each other trying to make it better. We knew we had to get better. We knew there were structural problems in the project. We knew there were code problems. We knew there were infrastructure problems. But the groundswell support at SpreeConf 2014 left me feeling like we were going down the right trajectory. One of the early feedbacks I got from this presentation was, well, Clarke, it's just a bunch of words. You got to add some images. So I figured, okay, if I had to put this talk into an image, I would probably pick this one. For those of you that either can't see it or don't recognize the gentleman, The one on the left is Jeff Dutil, who's looking super excited because we just spent 4 hours at a bar hashing out the future of Spree. The gentleman in the middle was BDQ, the then CTO of Spree, who was still very excited the direction we were going, just less excited than Jeff Dutil was. Radar, looking like Radar in the bottom after 4 hours of beers and pretty tough discussions, was just happy it was ending at this point. Off to the side is also a man named Jeff Squires, who's very active in the Spree community. He's fallen asleep by this point.
He lost his phone there, right?
Yeah, he also lost his phone. This photo is a very famous event at Spree Conf, where all the people that really care about core, really wanted to push this together, would sit down at a bar and really hash out the roadmap. Peter made a bunch of guest appearances. Hawthorne was in the back. I was taking photos. It was the most productive part of a Spree Conf, where we figured out how we needed to take the platform going forward. 11 months ago, the talk I would have given changed quite a bit. It would have been called "Everything is Terrible, Shut It Down." Between the 6 months, Radar had left the project, and this was a man we have nothing but the utmost respect for and appreciate all he did for the platform. We would not be here with Solidus today if it were not for Radar. We wouldn't have supported Spree if it were not for Radar. The time, the care, the attention he put into that was a huge tax on his personal life, his well-being, and we don't begrudge him anything for leaving. Jeff Dutil, who officially took over for him, really was not given the same support Radar was. He wasn't doing it as a full-time job. It wasn't his job to maintain and shepherd the Spree community. He was working on the Wombat side of things, and as very few people know, most of what he did for Spree, he did on his own time. So while he unofficially took over after Radar, none of the direction we ended up going I put on any of Jeff Dutil's shoulders. Spree Commerce no longer was a Spree company to us. They were off selling Wombat, they were building Wombat. That was their core business. 18 months ago, the energy, the time, the effort they put into the Spree platform was non-existent, and for us, that was an absolute deal breaker. If the company behind the platform didn't care about it, why should we care about it? The technical debt was crushing. We had gone from 2.1 upgrades, all of the upgrades, all of the time, and every time we did a new upgrade, we looked at it as a worse and worse idea. We started to understand the cost of doing Spree upgrades with the little benefits of them. We thought the more experience we had upgrading Spree, the easier, the happier, the better off each one of them would go. But we knew the true reality was each upgrade was uniquely terrible and differently atrocious. We knew that we had to get out from under the cycle of where we were. The giant bills attached to Spree upgrades, the crazy bugs that sprung up afterwards, it wasn't something we could support. And for us, 3.0 was the one that killed it. There were none of our clients we could look at Spree 3.0 and say, yes, we should do this upgrade. There wasn't a single one of them where we thought, this is a good idea for your business, we're going to do it, we're going to help upgrade it, and we're going to keep you closer to master. If I could summarize this talk in an image, it would have been this one. It's a GIF posted to our Slack pretty often. It'll be a North American sitcom not everyone will understand, so I'm going to go by it really fast. 12 months ago, talk changes quite a bit again. And more or less, it's a talk I actually gave at Solidus Conf 2015. Oh no, what have we done? This was a private conference between us and our friends at Bonobos up in the mountains of Whistler, where we really took ownership of the Solidus codebase. We picked our forking points, we'd put our branches together, we went up to the mountains with goals of spending a week programming and accomplishing amazing things for the platform. What we found out was what we got ourselves into. All of that technical debt from Spree, all of the crazy infrastructure problems, we inherited them ourselves. I'd been heckling the Spree people for years, being like, fix your test cases, make everything better. And now I realized it was on us to fix, and that was a big turning point. Rather than getting a lot of code accomplished, we spend most of our time deciding where to spend our time. We attempted to make things, we attempted to build things, but we realized we were in a very triage problem situation where we needed to decide how to move it forward. It was almost soul crushing because we were building a platform. We were putting all of our time and energy into something we weren't using. Nobody was using Solidus at the time. It wasn't a big enough project that we could even sell it to our clients. We warned them that we were doing it. We let everyone know this is a path we personally are going down, but it would be too risky for us to tell them this is definitely going to be the future. There was no light at the end of the tunnel because we were kind of short a tunnel at this time. If I could put this together in an image, I'd really like to say it was this one, which is 20 bright shining faces after the end of a giant hack day in the gorgeous mountains of British Columbia. The reality is I'd probably pick this one. But here the story starts to change. And my personal pivot moment is this one. This is a issue posted by our Kevin Atfield somewhere in the back, which was the issue to change the admin to a side navigation menu. This was drastically different than all the pull requests we'd done before this, and you can see we're at 509. This was some of the first visible directions that were very clear the direction Solidus was going. It was an incredibly well laid out PR. It was structural changes to the admin. We thought it was done in a really awesome way. It was the end of the bug triage, the infrastructure investing. It was the start of us moving this thing forward. But that's not why this is cool. Why it's cool is because of this man. A few hours after this issue was posted, we got a comment from someone we'd never heard of before, didn't know was looking at the project, and we got a nice with an emoji. It made it linked to our Slack. We're like, hey, somebody's actually watching the stuff we're doing. It was pretty exciting for us. A couple minutes later, we get another comment. This has got a screenshot showing he clearly pulled the project down, he checked out the right branch, he ran the sandbox, and he reported an issue in it. Like, wow, this is great. This is open source software. It's now actually working for us. Really awesome to see. A couple minutes later, more comments, clear understanding of the product. He posted more screenshots with the Chrome Inspector open, and we're thinking like, wow, this guy's got a real strong opinions on admin navigation. A few minutes later, another screenshot. This one's got arrows pointing left and right. It's got red boxes circled. At this point, we were like wondering if this man was balanced or not. We started to Google who he is, who he was. Do we need to be worried about him? 75 comments, and 17 days later, we got another comment. And this is a perfect exclamation mark, ship it squirrel, victory emoji, maybe dynamite? Don't know what that last one is. Chili peppers. Dancing lady. We learned two things from this. The first one was other people cared about this project like we cared about it. There was room to do the type of development we wanted to do. We wanted this 75 comment back and forth from total strangers that care about it. It was a conversation, it was a discussion, it was assistance. It was a big validating factor for us that we thought what we cared about at Stembolt was something shared by other people that missed it in the ecosystem. The other thing we figured out was we wanted to be this man's best friend. He spent more time and effort on a random PR doing a very small amount of things than anyone I'd ever seen. We later went on to find out he maintains Alchemy CSS or CMS. He'd been around in the ecosystem for a very long time, an incredibly talented developer, and he would go on to be our first non-founding core member. But back to the talks. 6 months ago is sort of the big turning point for us, and the talk would have been, it's usable! Exclamation mark. By 6 months ago, we'd figured out how to develop for Solidus. We made a bunch of mistakes in our early days. It was us taking over a project with 8 years of history, not really knowing what we were getting into. But by 6 months ago, we were feeling good about ourselves. It was now something I could go to a client and say, look, this Solidus thing, it's actually a thing. You can use it. We have the developers behind it are the most talented people I know in real life. The stores moving onto it or already using it are the ones I care about most in the e-com world and most in the Spree ecosystem. We had stores running in prod. Other people had stores running in prod. This was the validating moment where we decided it's time for a Solidus Conf, and actually a public one. The weight off of our company shoulders at this point was really fantastic. And if I can summarize that in an image, here, do this one. Yeah, that's it for the gifts. So here we are today, Solidus Conf 2016. Well, we're getting better. If I could summarize this one in an image, I don't need to. If you talk to the people in this room over the next 2 days, you look at the developers around you, you're going to see the stores they maintain, the histories they have with the Spree project and the Solidus project, and you're going to understand this is it. We can't beat what's in this room right now. I am amazed at the people I've most respected in the Spree community, in the Spree platform, showed up to the middle of Canada in a not very nice May to hang out and work with us for a few days. I thank you all for coming out. We never expected this. When we planned this conference, we were thinking 50 people. Eventually, we realized the venue could fit more, and we kept selling tickets, and it's where we are right now. So, how are we getting better? This is the point to the talk. So, one thing we're doing better is testability. And this is a picture of John Hawthorne, who will be giving a talk later on today. I could talk about the work this man's done in Solidus for 2 days straight. I could go section by section, commit after commit. The time, the energy, the care he's put into this platform is unprecedented and unparalleled. And one of the things I realize isn't very visible is the work he's done in our test suite. You'll hear me talk a lot about feeling crushed under code, about the crushing weight of bad code bases, about how terrible we feel as developers when our lives aren't very good. And the most time I feel that is when I do not trust our test suites. I worked with Spree for 4 years. I'm not sure any one of my builds ever passed CI and did not get merged. And got merged. The test infrastructure we inherited was untrustworthy, very poorly put together, and the effects of that rippled out into each and every one of our stores. Because the Solidus test suite wasn't very trustworthy, people were not writing the types of tests that needed to be written against Solidus to help this project move forward. People that were implementing stores didn't have the templates, the knowledge, the infrastructure required to build valuable test suites inside of their own sites. And they did not have an example of a project with trustworthy, fast, valuable suites behind it. Hawthorne, we call him the capybara whisperer in the office. The amount of knowledge this man has on how to make feature tests work is insane. I recommend any new programmer, any programmer period, look through the Git logs of the Solidus test suite over the last 18 months to understand how applications should be feature tested. This is something that I never thought we would get to this point. Looking back a year ago at Solidus Conf 2015, I did not believe our test suite would get to be as good as it is today, and the elation I feel, the lift of that crushing weight because of it is fantastic. Extension compatibility. This is a really interesting topic that's not immediately apparent to Spree. It took me years to figure out the extension ecosystem inside of Spree. In the beginning, I thought this was amazing. It's an open source project surrounded by other mini open source projects, and I can pick and choose a la carte to take the experience I want out of the platform. The reality of the situation is I don't think any extension I installed, maybe off device, over our projects was ever worth it. They always seemed like a good idea at the time, but the poor maintained, the poor upgrade path, the fragmentation behind all of them led to giant technical debts in our project that every one of them I believed were better pulled into and built into an application. And that's how we did it for a long time. We quit adopting community extensions and started pulling the features into our apps, but without a clear picture of why it was bad, of why the ecosystem had failed us, and why we'd failed the ecosystem. So, in order to understand why this is so amazing, we need to understand what's wrong with the fragmentation behind the extension ecosystem. There was a very famous day that made me a very angry camper, where I had 3 developers working on the same extension, one on a 2.0 branch, one on a 2.1 branch, one on a 2.2 branch, that were impossible to collaborate together. They were all building features I wanted in all 3 of the stores using each of the branches, but they had no platform to build them together. Each version of a gem was hard tied to the Spree version it was released for. Every time Spree was bumped, every gem in the ecosystem was bumped, and no one was able to collaborate together because very few stores run the same versions of Spree. We fixed this in Solidus by just doing standard development practices. Our gems aren't tied to one version of Solidus. We expect the gems that we publish as Stembolt, and we hope more people in the community adopt it, will run their gems against each and every version of Solidus that's still supported. This allows us to run this page, which was another creation of John Hawthorne, that tracks the test cases weekly right now, hopefully nightly maybe, of the runs against each version. So this is a compatibility matrix that says which versions of extensions run against which versions of Solidus. We're not perfect, we have failures, but everyone in Stembolt has volunteered to maintain some of these gems. There is a human being in this office or in this room who you can talk to about why one of those builds are failing and hunt them down and make them pass, make them make the pass. And if you can't do it, I can. I hope going forward we see more of these extensions. I hope more people realize the extensions are an excellent place to try functionality out that isn't yet ready for core, that allows other stores to collaborate together without having overly shared repos. I realize it was a mistake for us to not properly support extensions for the last couple years of Stembolt's development, and I hope going forward what we publish as a company and what everyone else publishes is much more stable, widely adopted, and helps build the ecosystem around Solidus. So, Tomas von Dyen, Martin, am I right? Von Dyen?
Yeah.
Sweet. I practiced that for a good chunk last night. He took the core position and started yelling at us. He said, now that I'm part of this project, we need to be less mean to Germans. And I go, Tomas, what are you talking about? And he's like, do you understand how bad Spree is to run outside of the States? And I said, well, no. I said, I'm sure we can fix it. And he laughed, and he sat me down on a Google Hangout and showed me the experience of Spree from a German user. I'm not going to go into the stories about how bad the translations were. I'm not going to go into the stories of how bad all of the hacks were. And I'm not going to go into the stories about how impossible it was to get the accounting right. That's Martin's job tomorrow. But I will talk about the passion with which he talked about IETnet. He realized this was a huge barrier of adoption to the project that I didn't even realize we had. He explained to me Spree is not the platform it is today, or it could be today, because we don't understand as core members how to do IETN properly. He explained to me all the places we actively fight Rails IETN. He explained to me all the places we actively fought, not even best practices, just reasonable practices of internationalization. And we promised him we would, because he cared and we cared about him so much, we were going to care about it. So in December, we hired a new programmer by the name of Murphy, and he's somewhere in the back, somewhere in the middle. He showed up the first week and said, okay, what do I do here, Clarke? Said, you learn how we develop. You learn how to write our test cases. I'm going to yell at you about how bad you are at Vim for a few weeks, and that's your job. Your job is to get yelled at about Vim. So after that, he goes, okay, Clarke, you've quit yelling at me about my development environment. What do I do now? I'm like, Murphy, you talk to that German man and you do whatever he tells you. And he was I'm not going to say terrified, but he was a little deer in headlighty. So I'm sure none of you can read this, but there are 81 closed PRs with Murphy's name on them in the 1.2 to 1.3 branch that fixes the internationalization of Rails in the back end. And this isn't, we're now problem solved, we're all the way there. But this is the time and energy and effort we're willing to put in to make the platform a more accommodating place for other stores. As far as I know, we now no longer have any non-active record model IETN NG lease. And the German man didn't yell at me, so I'm not entirely sure what's left. But we care about every commit, every PR, IETN going forward. So our first German man worked out so well, we decided to talk to more of them. And Martin, who is also in the audience, is going to talk about this a lot tomorrow, so I'm not going to go into it too much depth. But the lessons he imparted on us about internationalizing prices, about how to sell to other countries are absolutely invaluable. We didn't realize how difficult dealing with taxes in the States in the European Union were. We didn't realize how bad our accounting practices were, to the point where it's maybe criminal, but the effort, the time and energy this man's put into fixing them right now is insanity. He has more PRs than I can count, each of which we made him rewrite 2, 3, 4 times, sometimes back and forth when we changed our mind about the API. I haven't seen anyone put care and attention into this area of Spree in the entire history of mine with the project. These are long-standing issues from Spree pre 1.0, the ramifications of which have been shown in all of the other extensions. How many places hack pricing, how many places hack dynamic pricing, how many stores incur technical debt because of how poorly we have supported this in core has added that crushing feeling to programmers on the stores that we maintain. We're working on getting a 1.3 out the door. I lost my name, folks are laughing. We're working on getting a 1.3 out the door, and we hoped to have it for the conference, but we're not willing to ship this until it's done and ready. This is too important to the future of the platform and too important for everyone's stores that run on it for us to get it wrong. So the next most interesting area is the admin. When people come to us and say, hey, Clarke, I'd really like Stembolt to help us spin up a Spree store, and Clarke, I'd really like us to help us spin up a Solidus store. Sometimes I just kind of ask, why? Have you used the admin? It's clearly made by programmers. It's clearly made by developers, and not even very careful developers about this. I highly recommend everybody spend some time with your customer service people. Spend some time with your product management people. Spend time with people that actually use the thing, and you will be shocked and amazed at how difficult it is for them to use, at how hard it is, or in some cases impossible it is for them to get their jobs done. Our solution to this was we had to hire somebody just to do UI UX in the company in order to help us move the Solidus admin forward. We were embarrassed by the admin of our own product, and we hired Amanda Healy to come in and fix it. She'll have her talk tomorrow, so I'm not going to go too much into depth of things, but if you click through the Solidus GitHub under the UI flag or search for admin, you will see the plans for us in our admin. We have amazing changes incoming that I expect to be that point where I'm no longer embarrassed by it, where I can stand behind it, where I know that individual stores are going to be able to customize it or not have to, and still present that good user experience to their admins. I am not a front-end person, as anyone in Stembolt will vouch for. I am not colorblind, but that shocks most people. I get to go through our GitHub, and I get to read issues like this. I get to learn about where the Solidus admin is going from the issues created by our company, and I'm ecstatic for that. We have an open platform for people to discuss the directions. I get to see color swatches, that's what they're called? I get to see color swatches. I get to see where the admin is going in a nice visual place where I get to wander over and give them feedback on. This is as far as collaboration goes, some of the most successful, most visible, clearest picture of where Solidus is. And the people that are taking advantage of getting their feedback in now, understanding how we're going to roll it out, understanding how their sites are going to use them, are really appreciated by us, and I recommend everybody get on board. This one is a pull request by a man named Eric1234. He is not here today. I was hoping he was, but he did find out he works with Daniel Honig at Boomer. Is he? No. Maybe late night for him. This is a pull request with amazing code. I wasn't going to bother showing the code. No one's going to be able to read it anyways. But this is a pull request with a super clear understanding of the problem, a really well-written description of why he went down this path for it, other alternatives that he chose not to go down. I think he's done 11 PRs now, and they're all absolutely flawless. I don't know if any one of them have gone through another user content, but I don't know another project that gets PRs of this high quality from people I have never heard from before. I don't know who he works for, I don't know what he works on, but the work he does to improve core is fantastic. And he's just one of many. The amount of pull requests we see now from people that I don't know is mind-boggling. And our community is at a very interesting place. During the decline of Spree, we saw a lot of people express both interest but also hesitation of getting on board Solidus. I entirely understand it. Not everyone knew us, not everyone knew our work. But where we are now, with the Slack channel having 500, 600 users or so, with our issues getting active PRs, active reports, with the time and energy people are putting into the ancillary extensions, I do not know of any time in Spree's history that was better and more active than we are with Solidus today. There are people that report bugs, there are people that help out in Slack. I know Braden is here talking this week. The amount of effort that we are pushing this forward with is unprecedented. There were 40-ish people at the hack days over the last 2 days. I was expecting the 20 people I forced from Stembolt to come here, and maybe a few people I personally flew out, but the level of dedication, the other 20 people that I did not force to be here, was so encouraging for me. So, we're getting better as a platform. Solidus, the trajectory at which we're getting better is amazing. Where we've come from, where we're going is amazing. But that doesn't mean we don't need or want help. There are some incredibly easy paths you can take to help this platform move forward. The first one is adopt an extension. I've forced Stembolt to adopt many extensions, but I'm planning on forcing many more and hoping people are going to start publishing them again. Start supporting them again. Start watching the pull requests. Start watching the builds. Start watching the issues. The community is more than just core. The community is more than just what we're doing. And the adoption of a healthier extension ecosystem is going to push us all forward together. You can watch the core repositories. I'm going to chastise a lot of companies privately over the next few days who I know have amazing developers that don't watch our extensions, that don't watch our pull requests, that don't watch our repos. The knowledge each individual store has on how core works, on how core is customized, on how project is moved forward is invaluable to us. We know a lot, we're pretty good, but we do not know everything. And sorry, I'm not exactly an optimist, right? This is a very low effort, in between other stuff you're doing. Just come hang out in the issues, read them, watch them, and help us. I thought about lumping this under community, but put it out separately. PayPal has been absolutely fantastic to us, not only as a project offering us help, offering us assistance, technical assistance, pushing us to make their gems more active and supported by Solidus, but also in sponsoring this conference. The pub night is the most expensive, fanciest thing they could do, and they did it in a second. I really appreciate the work and time and energy that they have put into us I'm amazed they would do it with the size of our platform as it is now, but we really appreciate their efforts. Talking about the people on the bottom, both Nebulab and Boomer Digital have been in the Spree ecosystem for a very long time. The support of the Nebulab guys coming to hang out at both the hack days, I gained new appreciation for the knowledge that other shops have. I forget other people have been around as long as we have in this, and the complexities behind core that they understood to help us push it forward was truly fantastic. The Alarm Grid folks are here too as well. I know at least Joshua's here. They've been in both Spree confs. They recognize me from both of them, so I was really excited. They are they are one of the Spree refugees that I always really appreciate coming to the platform. They know that what we're talking about with the direction where the community was not optimal, and we really appreciate them helping out. And Resolve Digital as well. We've only established a relationship with them in the recent past, but the amount of light they shed on the community happenings, the amount of support they put behind this platform is truly fantastic. And David will be talking about machine learning in the next couple of days, or yes, today. So our future, and this is what at least STEMbolt's promising the platform, is we know we need to make Solidus look better. This was clearly a project put together by programmers that cared about the code base, that cared about the test infrastructure, that cared about the extension ecosystem, but we understand we need to make the platform look better for you to sell it to your employers, for you to sell it to your clients, and we'll be working together and with other companies over the next few days. And one of the things I'm really hoping for, which the Spree ecosystem never had, is a really tight connection between the different agencies. I can't emphasize enough the knowledge that each individual shop has from their contributions, from their projects. And I hope that everyone is able to come up and talk to me about how we can work together, about how we can move the platform together. We don't want this to be a STEMbolt only thing. We don't want this platform to be sponsored by STEMbolt for every conference. We don't want this to be they own the platform. We want this to be a collaboration between all the agencies that want to help push this forward and all the stores that are willing to support us. So we're getting better. That's my email address, clarke@stembolt.com. We're always hiring. If anyone's looking for a job, unless we work with you as a store, please shoot me a message. We are 100% Spree or Solidus. All we do is e-commerce, so it gives us a lot of chance to invest in our platform. But if you want to just send me a message to talk about Solidus or complain about pull requests, do it. I will talk about this stuff all day long and all night long because I really am good at nothing else. So please, thank you. Thanks to Gregor for presenting. Thanks to Amanda and Susan for organizing the vast majority of it with Sean. I hope you all have an amazing one, and I hope to see you again wherever we hold the next one. Does anyone have any questions?
How did you come up with the name?
It was the gold standard of a part of the Roman Empire, but then it also had the solid in it, which is a good design principle. Our first company was named Free Running Technologies. We renamed it to STEMbolt. We have a tendency to name things not thinking they're going to succeed. But looking back, we're quite happy with Solidus. Any other questions? Complaints? Please.
Is that extension compatibility matrix available?
Yes.
Anywhere?
Sorry, the URL is at the bottom, but it might not have been visible to everyone. It's extensions.solidus.io. If anyone is willing to maintain an extension, put their name next to supporting it, let us know. We'll get it up on there. We'll put it in the Solidus contributor repository. If you can volunteer to be the person I yell at when things break, I'm more than happy that it end up and be an officially supported extension. Okay. Cool. Well, thank you very much, everyone. It was an amazing last 2 hack days, and I look forward to hearing the rest of the talks.